This week, two young men knocked on my door to tell me that Jesus loved me. I invited them in for a cup of tea and we spoke for a few minutes about the love of God in our lives. And I really admire the boldness, the courage of these two young men from this Christian group who are doing a week's mission, who are obviously going to face so much rejection. I'm sure most people didn't give them a cup of tea, but rather closed the door in their face. And yet they kept on persisting in reaching out either on the street or knocking on doors just to tell people how much God loved them. It got me thinking, though, that as a church, we don't need to knock on doors. We don't need to go out to people on the street, because we have people who come to us. People whose faith is not so strong and who don't know how much God loves them still come to our church. People come to us to have their children baptized. People come to us to enroll their children in our Catholic schools, and this is a good thing. This is why one of our strategies as a parish this year has been to employ two people, Belinda and Serena, as our new parishioner engagement coordinators, whose role is primarily to reach out to those people who come to our church who don't know others, who are maybe not so connected, to help to invite them to take a step deeper in a connection to the parish, and in doing so, invite them to get to know the love of God in their lives. People come to us for many reasons. People come to us for weddings, people come to us for funerals, but the biggest time of people coming to us is right around the corner. It is, of course, Christmas, when hundreds and hundreds of people who don't go to church very often, maybe almost never, will come to church with us. People who probably don't know deep down how much God loves them will still come. And that is our great opportunity to meet them, to connect with them, and to invite them to get to know the love of God in their lives. We can adopt the method which Jesus used in the gospel today, where Jesus is speaking to the followers of John the Baptist, and he kind of teases out of them, what were you seeking? What were you looking for that drew you to John? He says, did you come out looking for a reed swaying in the breeze? No, of course not. Were you looking for someone dressed in fine clothes? No, of course not. You were looking for a prophet, weren't you? And he kind of circles around by teasing them about things they weren't looking for, to sort of draw them in, to get them to recognize and to articulate, in John the Baptist, you found a prophet who spoke to you powerfully about God and God's reign and invited you to come and renew your faith in him. And of course, John pointed the way to Jesus himself. But so Jesus used that method of just kind of gently talking to people to draw them in, to get them to recognize, what are they seeking? And that might be a method that we can use as well. To begin with, a stance of humility and curiosity towards those people who come, whom we'll meet at Christmas, who we probably don't see many other times of the year. Rather than judging and saying, well, why don't you come the rest of the year, or whatever else we might want to think, rather than judging them, to be curious and say, I wonder why this person has come to Mass this time. Because maybe there's cultural elements, maybe it's just simply what you do at Christmas, maybe it's about family things, what you do to honour your parents, or you want to get your kids engaged. Might be all kinds of reasons why, but surely somewhere there's a vestige of faith and a vestige of desire in there that we can try to kind of tease out and connect with, to help people recognise, why have you come to Mass this Christmas day? Perhaps there's something about God you are looking for, and perhaps we can help you find that and help you take a step further on your journey. Christian author Sherry Waddell, who I'm going to talk about a lot next year, speaks about there being 5 thresholds or 5 stages people go through on the way from having no faith to making a real personal commitment to Christ. She says these 5 things are a bridge of trust, curiosity, openness, seeking, and then finally, commitment. It begins, Sherry says, with a bridge of trust. That a person who has no connection to God or to the church needs to trust someone or something to begin to make their way in. And it may just be one person, it may be one friend. And you might be that person. Perhaps in your workplace, perhaps amongst your friends or your colleagues, you might be the person who is a Christian, who is a Catholic, whom this person sees as a trustworthy, reliable, good person, who maybe they may want to see as the bridge between them and church and God. And when we've established ourselves as being a connection, a bridge of trust, the next thing is to elicit curiosity in them. They might wonder, why are we the way we are? Why do we have faith in God? Why do we go to church? Why do we receive communion? To help them to be curious and to wonder. And then the next stage is openness, that they in time, and this may take a long time or a short time, may kind of be open to this for themselves. Like maybe that's something that I could do. Maybe I could have this kind of relationship with God in my life. The fourth step is seeking, which is more active seeking than just a passive curiosity. It's seeking, what would this look like in my life? What would I have to do to get to have a relationship with Jesus? And then finally, to make a real personal commitment. So it's not likely that in the short time we see people on Christmas Day, we're going to get through all 5 stages in a hurry. But what it is for us to do is to try to be sensitive to where might this person be at right now, and to try to invite them on that next step. So the first thing is for us to build that bridge of trust, and that is simply a relational step. That from the pulpit, Father Vincent and I will proclaim the love of God and the love of Jesus and the good news in the pulpit. That's something we definitely want to do, and I pray we'll do that well. But we won't get to speak to each and every person who comes. But you will, because you will see them in the car park. You'll see them kind of looking around, wondering, where's the front of the church, or where are the toilets, or wondering, where do I go? You'll be the person they come and sit next to or try to crawl over your knees to get into a seat. So you will have a chance to meet and say hello to these people. It begins with simply saying, hello, happy Christmas. My name's Jim, what's yours? Building that very simple little relationship of trust. It begins there. So I invite you, be bold, go out of your comfort zone and say hello to a stranger at Christmas. Now, I know we all have an awkwardness. If I say to someone, hi, what's your name? Have you been here before? They might say, I've been coming to this church for 40 years. Well, overcome our shyness and say, oh, well, I'm so glad I finally met you then. Think about the boldness of these 2 young men who knocked on a priest's door to tell him that Jesus loved him. These guys had the courage to overcome their own awkwardness in the name of that mission. I hope we can too. And the next thing then is to elicit that little bit of curiosity. And once you've established the person, you've said hello to them, you might say, have you been here before? And they might say, it's my first time, or, I've been coming for 40 years, whatever their response may be. But then for us to say something like, oh yeah, I come here all the time, or I've been coming here for a year, or I've been coming here for 10 years, and I really love, and say something you enjoy. Say, I really love the time with God. I love the prayer. I love the giving thanks to God, or I love the worship, or I love receiving communion. I really enjoy this community, whatever it might be. Just say one positive thing that you get, that you experience, which is why you come here to church. You don't need to prove or convince the other person. It's just saying one thing that might elicit some curiosity in them. Maybe they might ask a question, oh really, tell me more about that. Or they might simply say, I say nothing, but it might just get them thinking about, well, what should I be looking out for in this Christmas Mass? What might I have to gain if I open my heart to God as well? That might be as far as we'll get in a short encounter at Christmas Day, but that can often be enough. We'll be inviting people in the bulletin and at Christmas Mass in the pulpit to come and do a program called The Search next year, which is like Alpha, which is a chance then for people who do have a little bit of curiosity to come and explore Catholic Christian faith for themselves. That's the next step, but it begins with you being that trustworthy, friendly, kind person who connects with them, who welcomes them, who is the opposite of the inn, of the inns in Bethlehem who said there's no room for you in this inn, who rather are like Elizabeth, who greeted Mary with such joy when she came and said, why am I so honoured to have a visit from the mother of my Lord? For us to have that kind of attitude and the boldness of these 2 young men, that we might make a difference for people this Christmas.